We're back. Another episode, 171. That's how far we have come. More games, more Dota. Same old patch. Same old Marco Adam as well. Welcome to the pod, Marco. How are you doing this week?
Very good, thanks. You say same old patch. I think you're confused. I don't think Dota patches anymore. I think we're in its final state.
Oh, this is it now.
This is it, yeah.
We're just left with this. To be fair, there's worse patches to be left on, but yeah, I'm looking forward to 3 weeks' time when the patch drops finally after DPC. Although knowing Valve, they'll be like after the finals of DPC, and then a week after finals, you're like, where's this patch? But we'll see about that. Maybe they pull a instant drop post tournament like they sometimes do. But yeah, Adam, likewise, welcome. How are you doing this week?
I'm fine. We just had a game.
Yeah, we just had 2 games.
2 games. Shouldn't we? We should. It's so much better when you lose the first and win the second going into podcast than the opposite.
Yeah.
Win the first one and then lose the second.
Yeah, and also to the same stack as well, which is tough because it's like you get the better of the stack and then they get the better of you. It's like they have the last laugh, which is kind of tough. Although I would say it was a rare fun loss, even though it was frustrating because I feel like, as is often the case in Dota, teammates and yourself do some questionable things, but it was a fun loss. We'll get to that in a bit in games, I suppose. But how's a bit of IRL, a bit of behind the curtains? How are you doing this week, Marco? How's real life? It's getting lighter. Things looking up, or is it grindy week?
I mean, bench landmark. I'll try and think of the phrase that has mark in it. Landmarking that I went to the office today. First time in the new year. Second time in like 2 years. Crazy stuff. That was a good novelty. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, yeah, it's chilling.
It's February, isn't it? It's the worst month? Is that right?
The worst month.
I mean,
that's what they say. Sorry for a downer on the pod, but you know, at least it's the shortest as well. I mean, what's your opinion on February, Adam? Just to get the top podcast content out there. How's your week been?
It's fine. February's okay. It's just cold, you know. It's just another winter month. Mm-hmm. It's when winter's lost its novelty, so then it's just like cold, and there's no holidays, and you're just like, man, I'm cold, and it gets dark early, and I don't like that.
I notice it being lighter now. Yes. You finish the day, or you get close to the end of the day, and you're like, you can still see outside. That's good.
Definitely. I've noticed it as well.
Just gonna you don't like February, Black History Month. You're not a fan of it. That's what. That's the first thing I think of is because February is Black History Month, and you guys are like, man, I hate this is the worst month.
Interesting. I feel like it's not really. You don't know about that as much in the UK.
No,
but yeah,
no, it's just a US thing.
It's definitely getting brighter though, because at 5 when I finish work, if I'm running a quick errand. I mean, I'm still working from home, but if I'm running a quick errand post 5 o'clock, I've been getting some beautiful sunsets and stuff.
Yeah,
which has been nice. Yeah. So it's definitely brighter because it wasn't that long ago that it's just pure darkness at 5. So
talking about pure darkness,
yeah.
Let's lead it into Dota 2.
Into
anything.
Dota? Is pure darkness?
Anything.
Pubs, maybe.
Pure. Well, actually, before we move on from IRL, on the subject of pure darkness, in my room at the moment, I'm existing in the opposite of pure darkness because my light has been faulty literally since I moved into this flat in my room, and I finally got a new light bulb today, and I didn't really know what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So I just walked into a hardware store and was like, how can I have a light that's the same as this one? And handed him my current light. And he was like, oh, yeah, we don't have this exact one, but yeah, this will fit. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll take it. Without thinking about anything. And it's like the sort of light you would get in a morgue. I feel like I'm I'm the subject of an autopsy. It's like
Well, you
bright
want
light,
that bright white
light.
LED.
Yeah, it's meant to mimic natural light, which, to be fair, it does a little bit, but it's not the warm yellow light that you want in a bedroom. So I'm sitting here, feeling like I feel like I lie on my bed and I feel
Under
like
an
I'm
experiment,
literally
being watched,
getting chopped up for getting weird experiment this week. Feels bad, but I'll tell you what feels worse, and that's Dota 2. the more dark segues into Dota. Games. How have our games been this week? Marco, how's it been?
I took a detox from the Sanking mid, so back to a couple other mids. I had a classic loss. Fortunately, was unranked. Oh, actually, no. Kind of weird. It was unranked, so it's a classic loss in the sense that we absolutely crushed. Enemies got an Alchemist. We're about 10k gold XP ahead at, I think, 25 minutes against an Alch. It's like, yeah, this is a joke game. It's just boring. Not boring. We did really well. I did the build you talked about with the Blink Scream, crushing this Alch mid, getting a few kills because, yeah, the uptime on Blink, and they almost don't expect you to be that mobile, I guess. So just nailing this Alchemist. He's like 0-5-0. Game's crushed. Game's easy. Let's just finish it. Like literally 20-25 minutes. I'm like, let's just finish it. I want to fit in a game after this. So can we get moving? Like we're done. But then we kind of failed to win. Our high ground pushes are kind of bad. They have a Drow and Weaver and Alk, and they end up turning it around. And then it's like, 40 minutes we lose, and it's really awkward. But then in the post game screen, so I'd be kind of flaming this Lyric Skeleton King. And then it's an Archon player, and every other player in the game is High Divine Immortal. And then it's just this one random Archon on our team. And I mean, he didn't play terrible. Like, his score looks okay, 10-2. His item timings are not horrible, but I mean, we're all just crushing the game and he's free farming, so it's hard to not have farm. But then we were all kind of flaming this lyric of like, all right, finish the game for us, please. Like 20-25 minutes, we've just destroyed them. They've gone out. Just end it for us. That's the carry's job. And he was always a bit shit in that way. And then, yeah, it's this Archon. So I was like, what is that matchmaking? But some ranks or whatever, I didn't really care. Then, yeah, I had a win in mid. Item build, fail. Adam might flame me for that one. Didn't buy BKB.
Was I in the game?
I think so. I didn't buy BKB because they had a lot of disable. They had a Sand King and a Rasta, and the Sand King got a very fast blink. So I was kind of worried about this really rapid blink stun or a Rasta Hex or Shackle from out of nowhere. Where like if I get disabled pre BKB, I'm dead because they have like so much lockdown, a Lina and a Shaker to follow. So they have endless lockdown. So in my mind, I was like, I need a Lincolns to not get that first instance, but I needed a BKB to then be able to stand and fight. This is Adam's lifesteal game, so that was a bit awkward. Whatever.
Oh, that game.
Yeah, Adam might feel a bit salty. Yeah, and then a Void.
You only died once, to be fair. But yeah.
I did. I mean, I did fine. It's just
anything.
I couldn't do more because I didn't have the BKB. I couldn't run in and just kill stuff because, like I said, one stun and you're dead. And I just kind of didn't compute that I needed BKB because I had Lincolns. So I kind of tricked myself into thinking, that's enough defensive items. Mm-hmm. So, but I didn't really mind. Whatever. Game after that, Faceless Void. That was a game worth sending to New from UA. This like mega stack of divine immortals against our 5-man kind of guild gaming.
That was a big game, yeah.
That was a really big game, 47-minute win. They had a couple like POS 5 Immortal doing fucking bits, but then we did some sick team fights in the mid game, pulled it back. Adam had a Wind Waker on a Centaur. That gets a lot of commends. So that was a good 5-man Dota.
You were invested in that game. You were like I could see it in your comms. You like believed the win was possible, but then when it was starting to go bad, it was like I could see the stress.
You knew he was into that one because he was smacking the keyboard.
I smack keyboard. I mean, it was because they had a couple of UK flags on Overwolf, so I was like, let's get in with the niggles and like try and tilt the enemy. Then they had a definitively stronger stack, like a lot of high divines, immortals, definitively stronger.
Just to put that into perspective, also for this one, the lowest player in the game was Archon 2, and then. Excuse me, I would say friend of the pod, Foxtrot Uniform Charlie, new name. But anyway.
Ramsey Bolton.
Yeah, Ramsey Bolton for any of the OGs, any of the OG listeners. And then the next lowest rank was Divine 1, which is me. So, and all of their players are between Divine 1 and Immortal. They got 2 Immortals, I believe.
Yeah, they had 2 Immortals and a Divine 5, I think. And
yeah,
they had a lot of decent, well-rounded players, but mega try-hard. I think I got a couple good chronos. I did whiff Omega Whiff 1, where I wanted to get a quap, put the chrono down, but she blinked away. That was bad, but remained calm, and mid-game just sweat, no typing, apart from like question marks when they tried to kill me, BKB, Time War, chrono. No, I did question mark that one, but aside from that, kept my head on it.
Yeah. I had to dust off the Viper for that. Just get the sweatiest hero in the book out for the ranks.
Yeah,
it's one of those where the ranks are getting called out, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is a try-hard game. Everyone's got to pick their best heroes." And I'm just like, I actually don't mind getting a Viper out here because I haven't played it in so long. So, yeah,
that was an excellent game.
Adam, do you have anything to report this week?
I'd be interested. I think Adam's played more games, but I would be interested in his commentary of these last 2, given we shared them, and I think have a very different outlook on these games.
Which one, the Marco Windranger game when I was Lifestealer?
Yeah, your Lifestealer one, and the one you were Centaur, and I was Voids, Faceless.
Yeah, the Lifestealer one, that one was frustrating because Marco has more last hits and GPM as a Windranger than I do as a Lifestealer, because he just would bots to the opposite side of the map and push instead of like killing things. And you didn't buy a Maelstrom, you just stuck on a Javelin. You went Javelin, bots, Lincoln Sphere, and just side farmed while we got ran over.
That Lincoln shouldn't have been Lincolns. I gave the enemy too much credit. I thought they could catch me out, so needed Lincolns, but I should have just got BKB and killed them.
Mm-hmm.
But
anyway, my bad.
That was that one. If you had a BKB, it'd been way different than a Lincoln's, just because they had. You're going to stop with a Lincoln's either Shadow Shaman Hex or Shackle or Sand King Q, and then like you're still going to get done in by like everything else, or maybe even you get Lucent Beamed, and then you're really screwed. Because everybody on their team has a stun.
Mm-hmm.
And plus we also have a 4 bounty hunters, so it kind of just lends itself to like snowballing off of kills, but we never really killed anyone. What was the other game? The Centaur game? That one I had you pre-muted for, and it was very valued.
Oh, man.
I learned that from the last week, and if I just keep you muted, I can't get triggered by you typing to the other team. I can hear you typing, but I can't ever see it. So, that was like Zen mode.
Nice. That was a big game.
Yeah, that game was fine. I thought you almost lost it. Like, you almost... you were getting mad at the beginning, and then we turned it around.
I'd give you a shout-out for the game we played after that, Adam, without Marco, but with Dynamic and Ron, big friends of the pod. You had a good Darkseer. That was a nice game.
Yeah, that was Overwhelming Blink Darkseer. That was very fun.
Yeah, that was a strong... I mean, it's pretty... Yeah.
It's pretty, straightforward, but you get the Axon Darkseer is really strong. Throw that on a Stan Storm Spirit or your Medusa. They get 350 health and have a damage around them. And then, Medusa's only problem is move speed. So if you throw a Surge on her, that's that just changes the hero completely. And normal punch is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always neglect normal punch on Darkseer. Oh, I say always, back when I did a little stint of Darkseer.
Yeah. If you if you vacuum wall and then normal punch the carry, whew, that's big damage. And then if you overwhelm and blink on top of that, if you overwhelm and blink, no one can move, and then you vacuum them all. That was pretty fun. This last game, I tried Nullifier first item on Tidehunter. I really rated it, but we just couldn't. We didn't get there.
That got tough, yeah. That was an interesting one, the Nullifier. I feel like it was good in the sense that it meant we killed Void Spirit twice in the sort of early mid game. But yeah, that was a tough game. Yeah,
I really hate Void Spirit. They had Void Spirit and Pugna, so I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a sick thing." Because I started no items, got a Helm of Iron Will really fast, and it's like, I'm just going to get a Nullifier. So I got it at 15 minutes, because what do I hate more? I waited to see that the Void Spirit had a Void Stone. I was like, okay, he's going Yules. Because I hate that hero. I hate that he jumps into the ground, he jumps in and out, and then he does the Yules as a phase shift to get all of his abilities back. So it's like, what if I just nullify him? Oh, and then he just stuck to the ground. It's not so cool now, huh? And
also,
then they also had Decrep, so just turn that off. Yeah. But turns out Pugna just Decreps you and sucks you off.
Yeah,
but it was pretty good against the Void Spirit until it wasn't.
It was a nice combo of my Orchids, because I was Storm this game. We meant we could doom him and kill him.
That was very fun. We just kind of had not a great... our 4-5 just didn't have gold or experience, or just didn't itemize. Yeah. And then their team was literally 5 cores. The other team was 5 cores. If their 5 Pudge at the end of the game has Blink, Ag Shard, BKB, Eternal Shroud, Agnum Scepter, he's a core. And then their 4 Enigma has Midas, Blink, BKB, Octarine Core, Ag Shard, bots. That's a core. So it's literally 5 cores. Can't do anything.
I mean, their POS 5 has slightly less net worth than me. It has 1,750 less net worth than me on a Storm that's had a relatively good game, a level 27 Storm with
16 kills,
16 and 7. Yeah,
31 deaths on your POS 3 and 4.
Yeah.
No, it's a 4 Veno, 5 clock.
Okay, 4 and 5.
Yeah. That's part of the reason why the Pudge has so much, he's got 5k health, is because my Veno just kept waddling into him.
I mean, in the lane. We know how we feel about that on this pod, POS 4 Veno.
I love POS 4 Veno, but...
oh, God, you're the worst, man.
Yeah. But the biggest game of the week, and someone who I'm now 2-0 against all time, Capitalist, beat him again. Got matched up with him on stream. Didn't know about it. We knew it was Cap, but we didn't know if he was streaming or not until after the game. But it's always fun. If you play a game, you end up on stream and you get to watch it over again.
Yeah.
I was in a 3-stack with... I was a 4 Witch Doctor, laning with a 3 Centaur. This is kind of the game that gave the inspiration for Wind Waker Centaur. And the enemy lane I was against was a Wraith King and a Snapfire. And watching the game back over, they were on stream saying, "Oh, Wraith King Snapfire, this is such a kill lane. You're going to destroy Centaur Witch Doctor." And then what ends up happening is the Wraith King literally doesn't have a last hit 3 minutes into the game, and they're just dying over and over and over again. Snapfire presses little shredder, shoots the Centaur with Retaliate and takes half of his health away. And then, just the really unwholesome Witch Doctor combo, Just land a Maledict and they, die over and over again. And yeah, it was just like a Giga Stomp, and Capitalist was like dead silent for basically like 25 minutes. Meanwhile, this Wraith King, they're in a 5-stack. This Wraith King complains for 20 minutes straight, and it's like the biggest amount of copium. Yeah, like it was like such a good feeling to be like, he'd be like, I can't believe we're letting this happen. Like, I can't believe we're letting them take this objective, or, oh, guess I'm dead again, or like, my mouse is broke. He got into my mouse is broken territory, and it was multiple times. He's like, it's literally broken. I'm pressing buttons and it's not doing anything, and no one is saying a word. And then they'll like start to discuss something else about the game, and then he'll go back to like, TP back in and die again, and then he'll like let off another amount of rage. And like they just ignore him because he brings the morale like way far down. And it's a Wraith King that ends up 4-14. And he didn't skill his ult until level 10, which I think is a mistake. You probably get it 8 or something. But there's this play where he tries to take the top tower and the top Radiant tower, and he's alone. And I TP in and I have a Shadow Amulet, and I full combo him. And he tries to come up and like stun me, and I Shadow Amulet, and he just dies because he doesn't have his ult. He hasn't skilled it. Just like a 4 soloing your core many times over, and it was awesome. But also, it was a good reminder and a lesson to not be that way, because it was not fun for the other 4 people, and it's definitely, tone goes a long way. I was like, man, I bet I sound like that a lot of the time. That guy sounds insufferable. I probably shouldn't have that attitude. I probably should chill out, because, when people just don't respond and you just keep throwing out complaints into the void and no one says anything, it's like, oof, big downer. And it's pretty funny, like, Cap's whole takeaway about the game, he was playing a Tusk 3, and the whole thing he said after the game was over was, well, we got Ember Spirited. And that was it. He's just like, that hero's OP. And it's like, I didn't realize that he's that OP, but our Ember went 25-1-18.
What rank is your Ember?
Divine 1.
Wow, really? Because I'm looking at the game, and there's a lot of relatively well-ranked Immortals, and that Ember score is fire, 25-1-18.
Yeah, it's like it is a good hero when you get into this late game scenario. I think, because I lost to this build later, the whole Maelstrom Sanjin Kaya Ags refresher, and it is a ton of damage with all the damage is coming from the remnants and stuff.
But you can't lock him down, because then you get about 12 remnants or something. Right,
and it's pretty crazy from that sense. But I mean, it takes a long time to get to that point, and he's literally built no defensive items.
Yeah,
it's really greedy. But if he was just like, well, we got Ember, and it's like, how about your safe lane, Gigalost,
Deflection is the name of the game.
It's always so fun, even when it's not Cap. I mean, obviously when it's someone like DotA famous, I can imagine it being even better. I don't have that experience of playing against a well-known streamer. But even on occasion when someone on the enemy team has Twitch TV / something, that's their tag, even though they're just some random Divine player. And then you go on, I just remember going on one of those after I had a really good game on Drow Ranger and watching the VOD, and it was just some Russian guy streaming, but it's so fun when you have a good game and you're so, I don't know, X Factor's maybe a bit strong, but they need to kill you. And it's just, I can't remember what hero he was playing, but you just hear him being well, Drow Ranger, need saying stuff in Russian, and then drow, and it's like, hey, that's me that they're failing to kill, and then it's the deflated look when you like win the final team fight and they're just like defeated, and it's just like
it's fun. You can go back and you see if chat says anything at a certain time or
Witch Doctor Pog. Any Witch Doctor Pogs in the chat?
No, it was more just like, man, Wraith King is pure despair. Like that was some people were saying. Looking at it now, we were 4.5k up out of the laning stage amongst all lanes, so it's just like a Giga Stomp.
What was the Void Ags like? Mask of Madness Ags? This is a rank 300 NA Void. Sounds like an interesting item build.
Yeah, I think we were ahead, and he's just like, I'm going to go that. I mean, our 5 Ricky has, he got a 15-minute Meteor Hammer as a 5 Ricky, and then he got to basically just do the Sleeper Dart.
God, that's grim. The old Sleeper Dart.
I think the Void build was okay because he was going against heroes like Zeus and Hoodwink, who are kind of like, if you just get on top of them, they're dead. So if you can just like use your Time Walk and land on them, stun them, then they're pretty much dead at that point.
I think it's underrated. I
don't know if it's first item, but it's pretty
sure.
okay.
It
cash
definitely
range as well.
I always feel like the times I've played Void, the Ags is always insane, like when you get there. But yeah, first item, that's some sauce.
And shout out Yules on Centaur Warrunner. I think it's awesome. Wind Waker is probably like a meme, but it's a good item. I think I'm a big fan of the Yules. I could be convinced that it's like you can build that a lot. The Wind Waker, definite luxury, but you can you can Yules set up into your Hoof Stomp, and still have your blink, or you can just like blink if you're not all the way there, and Yules, you give you a little bit more move speed, and then the Wind Waker, you can be an absolute goon because you can blink in to really ridiculous situations and stun, and then Wind Waker yourself out. And in the case of the game where I played Centaur, it was really good for Marco because he would get static stormed and I would just Wind Waker him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
a final point, just on the Void. I think they probably got Mask Commander's Maelstrom Ags Mjolnir.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Which
because
sounds
he's got a Mjolnir later.
Yeah, that sounds like a quite cool build. But yeah,
it's a Chad build. This was a Chad game.
Yeah,
basically.
Chads everywhere.
Mm-hmm. In terms of my games, I mean, one of the themes of my games sort of leads on to a topic that we'll discuss in more detail. So I'll put that to one side and just mention some of these other notable games. I've had 2 hour-long games this week. So one was both losses, which is actually pretty devastating, but one of them was a Quap loss. I played with Dynamic, big friend of the pod, but thought I played really well. I actually feel like I'm playing pretty good Dota at the moment, although it's all unranked, so that means obviously like play a bit of ranked and just go like 0-6. But I've got that to look forward to if I dive in. But Quap, I think Quap's just such a good hero at the moment, especially with the build like what Marco mentioned. Don't get any Q and just blink and max E with blink, and it feels really nice. Hour-long game, 13-3. Had a lot of fun loss, I would say, although obviously rough that it goes so long. I had a ton of hero damage. Trying to go toe-to-toe with a Morphling, though, is quite hard when it gets to an hour-long game, but it was good. I had a Marcy game with Adam yesterday that was a tough one. I don't know if you remember this one, Adam.
Yeah.
This is a difficult one. So I'm not a very good Marcy player, which won't come as a shock to Mark and Adam, but perhaps the listeners don't know. I'm quite bad at Marcy, but I play it from time to time.
You're perplexed by the W, and it was still happening in that game.
I feel like I've got the W. That was just me misusing the spell, not me not being able to cast it. That was just me being bad.
Oh, I mean, you would cast it, but it wouldn't go where we wanted it to. I guess there was a point where you couldn't even cast it. So I guess that is an improvement.
Yes,
Yeah.
Definitely. The vector targeting thing, I've changed the way I do the vector targeting, and now I can do it. So there wasn't the, like, oh, how is this spell? How do you use this spell? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. There wasn't that there usually is with the vector targeting stuff. But anyway, 17 deaths, 36-minute game, 17 deaths. So that was a good one on Marcy. The distance you go with the W, that's the next level for me in terms of like how to use this spell. I've worked out how to actually have the spell happen, but now I need to work out where I need to land so that my dispose throws in correct directions and stuff like that. But it was a really tough game. We had a mid Elder Titan that didn't punch anything. I don't know if you remember this one, Adam. It was like, we've got this mid ET that's gone Echo Saber Ags, and then Echo Saber Ags and wouldn't right click. And it's like, you may as well be pos 5 if you're going to play ET like, and just stomp from a distance.
When your mid is pos 5, you were like, what's all this gold on somebody who every 10 seconds will throw out a spirit and stomp?
Yeah, it was so like, bizarre.
Who was I?
I
was a carry, right?
Luna.
Yeah, that one was like, we just need anybody to do anything.
It was always going to be tough.
We basically needed our mid to do something. Yeah, it's like, bro, just throw your body in there and punch somebody.
Yeah, to be fair, this game was one of those games that like blows breaks your understanding of Dota, because they've got a pos 1 Wraith King whose item build is literally phase radiance, and he's like 1v5ing your team
while farming radiance.
And it's like, I don't understand what's going on. He's like diving tier 2 and like getting away with it, and we can't do much about it seems, somehow, because they had an Abba who was very annoying and Avenge for swaps. It was just like rough, and they grouped up as 5. This Abba had Ags, and they was just impossible to kill.
I've been seeing so much Abba Ags, and it's really, really hurting me. I really hate to play against it, because this was a 4 Abba that has 24-minute Holy Lock of Ags, and then he gets a refresher after that. And there was a moment where I pop Eclipse, and he pops his ult, and I do no damage to anybody for like 8 seconds. It feels bad.
Yeah,
and then you can't kill Venge either because she has Ags, so you can't kill anybody ever.
I don't get how that Abaddon's got a 14, 5, 23. So that's by far the most K plus A. I guess it's all these missed coil tags. But then, like you say, that item progression is pretty nice, but then the damage is 80. There's barely any damage done by this hero. I'm like, who picks pos 4 Abba? I just can't relate. And then they actually made it work. I'm just baffled by both these facts.
The Ags rush is like, I've seen it a lot the past couple weeks, and it's so annoying to play against.
Yeah. It did work. It worked well. It's also annoying in the lane because like factoring in shield into like goes in the lane is quite hard for the turn potential and stuff. It's hard to think about the fact that your stun isn't going to last as long, and the fact that they've got their effective HP so much higher.
Yeah, it's like, do you go on Abba?
It's
no,
like
because he's going to pop his ult.
Tough.
Okay, who do you go on Venge? No, because she's got Ags. But even if you go on Venge or anybody else, they're going to get Abba shielded. So who do you go on?
In the end,
you're all bald.
It was nuts. And the Sky and the Lion are just like out of shot, just not really doing anything. They might have been AFK. I don't think it would have mattered. In the end, we needed to go on Wraith King, which is never a situation you want to be in. But I actually think Wraith King was the go in that game. But it was just like so hard. Anyway,
there were still like fun fights because we held. Like we had Vac Wall, so there were a lot of like when they're pushing the final barracks that we actually got a lot of sick Vac Walls, and we're trading okay, and like holding. But our AT still wasn't punching anybody. Until the very end when our throne died and he walked up and one shot the Abba. through his like over
Yeah.
thresholded of the ult, and it's like, man, if we could have ever got that,
Yeah, if you had
before
just
the
like
throne
used,
exploded,
if you just right clicked, it's so weird as well because he had Ags, he's just spell immune as well. So it's like,
and they have
You
Wraith
can
King
just-
skeletons. There's a million things to
Yeah.
build up stacks on. Like, if he could ever have just once walked up to the mid lion, who had no defensive items, and just right clicked him once, I think he would have exploded.
mm-hmm.
And like the fight. Oh, I remember there was one time when they vac walled and we were going to get the lion, and you disposed him out of the base. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was
the
tough.
game was over, but it was just like, no.
That was the goal. Yeah, I just I threw Lion like out of the fire, and I just hear Adam like, "No, Lion was the goal," and I was like,
Oh dear.
yeah, that was pretty bad." And you know when you're like, "Oh, the game's over anyway," but like you've just fucked up, and you're just like, "Oh, game's over anyway." Just don't worry about it.
It was like
That was
I popped like BKB Manta. I was like, we're going to kill this lion, and then we're good because he's got an Ags, like so much damage. It's like we're level now. In a 4v5, we're like level in a fight. Like we can maybe do it. And it's like he gets thrown over the high ground, like back to the low ground. He gets thrown over the wall, and it's just like, no, I can't get to him.
Game's over. To be fair, we would
was
have
over.
just died anyway. But yeah,
It's
but,
better.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
That happens then at like
yeah.
a turning point.
Yeah, for sure. Just
But
played.
there were moments where you like would buy back and you would you W into like 5 heroes and you just explode.
Oh my!
As Marcy, Marcy from behind is the worst.
Yeah, I don't understand how you're supposed to play this game as Marcy, because they're 5-man, and the second my choice is use a spell and die, or don't use a spell. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
I instantly blow up at the second I go in.
You tank so many like Skywrath combos.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, you got Magic Missile, Atos, Wraithfire Blast, Hex, and Earth Spike. Whatever, they couldn't miss all of them. So you would go in and be like, they would just collapse on you and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I got a Solar Crest that game, but I probably should have gone naked BKB, just like boots BKB. Played a Sanking that was pretty good on the subject of Wind Wakers. The Sanking we played earlier, Adam, that was quite fun. Good solid win. Got a Wind Waker in there in the end. I went Blink, Tranquils, Blink, Soul Ring, Tranquils, Blink, Pipe, Wind Waker. Got the Pipe at a good enough time versus a lot of their magic damage, and I really like the Wind Waker this game because they have both Nyx, but more importantly, they've got Spirit Breaker, and the Spirit Breaker flies in with Shadowblade Ags and the combo to break the combo. If our Drow Ranger or a Lesh gets gone on with Spirit Breaker, the charge happens out of Invis, then winds up the ult, and you just save, disrupt, and that's enough time for your core to get BKB off. And it's just, I actually really like the Wind Waker as a play against Spirit Breaker, so trying that out there.
Yeah, this is a big new meta from Adam, the Wind Waker.
Yeah, the Wind Waker.
2.5 seconds. It's like a disruption, which is almost like Shadow Demon's
best spell, almost.
pinnacle spell. Yeah, that it's picked for. So
always fun to beat a Tinker.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I was for Skywrath, and there was a moment where the Luna was pushing Elaine solo, and you see him. He pops. BKB's down because it's from a previous fight. He pops Manta the farm, and he goes to a camp alone. You're just like rubbing your hands together. It's like he's dead. He doesn't know it, and then you get to do your full combo on a carry that's itemized twice against it. You solo them. It's just like, one of the most satisfying combos in the game. To Atos, and then just like throw all your spells on a target.
So the other part of my games has been this journey, this adventure into Storm Spirit, iconic Dota 2 hero, and I've had a lot of fun. So, first of all, the results. I mean, played 7 games and I've won 5, so I'm 5-2. One of the games,
and one of those was just the last one we played.
Yeah, one of those is the last one we played, which was a tough loss, which we could have won.
It. So it's 5-1. We'll say because you had some idiot that went Nullifier on Tidehunter. So like, can you even really be blamed?
Yeah, and also, I will just point out in that game, I was mid against an Immortal Void Spirit, and I feel like I was wrecked this Void Spirit. I feel like he didn't have a great game, but that might be because my POS 3 got next level item that cancelled him a bit. So Storm, we're going to get into it a little bit. Marco, you've got quite a lot of experience on this hero. One of your most played heroes, right?
Wealth of experience. Back in the day, I was flinging Storm out nearly all the time. On this account, it's the third highest pick of 119, not including my old account. And if you look at the games, they're all concentrated in 2014, 2015. So maybe ignore that for the credibility point.
Yeah,
I have still played it.
Yeah. Well, I think
I used to grind it.
Yeah. And it's an interesting hero. The win rates aren't good. So the overall win rate in all of Dota, all of pub Dota is 47%. Immortal Plus this week it's 48%, so 1% better basically in Immortal and Divine. And that just trends slowly downwards. If you're in Crusader or below, it's like 45%. So I don't know. I mean, it's not like a new meta approved hero. It's not but it's a lot of fun. And I actually think it's in the right hands. It's very strong. You know, that's for certain. You see it a lot in pro games. There are a lot of Abed playing Storm every game, stuff like this. And I'm going to run through the gameplay idea, and then feel free to interrupt or interject to just like add little things. But Storm in the lane, I feel like the game is basically farm your way to 6, harass secure range creeps and CS with Q when you need to, harass with W. I feel like 1-1-1 is the standard build. And when you get that, W hit with overload, Q hit with overload, and hopefully get the Q on them. And if you do, that's big damage, that's big burst for the lane. And kill the small camp. That kind of is just that's just mid Dota 2 in 2020 is small camp, and Storm's an exceptional small camp farmer. If you can stack the small camp, even better. And beyond that, also, if you can stack triangle as well, that's excellent, and you can come back to that later. But farm small camp, farm lane, good times.
Can I add a laning point? I think it's general to any mid lane, but I do think a lot of fails are self-inflicted, and it'll be players that try and do something fancy or aggressive, and then they'll put themselves out of position, and then the enemy will capitalize and kill them. Like, if I think about playing a good mid lane, I never do anything fancy. I feel like if I watch the pros play, they never do anything fancy. And I feel like if I fuck up, it's because I'm being overly aggressive, trying to make a move happen when it's not there. Mm-hmm. And say something like Storm Spirit, just play it simple. At some point, the enemy will fuck up positioning, and then you'll get that combo off with the pull and the Q and the hit. And that's all it takes to win a lane. You don't have to try and go for kills, or particularly Storms whose right click's crap. You don't want to be trying to get right clicks off, and then all of a sudden you've taken 3 right clicks and loads of creep hits because you've been trying to get that overcharge hit off. It's like, nice, play it simple. Always play more defensive, I think, and reactionary in that laning phase. And then small camp, etc. Yeah,
agreed. And beyond the initial lane, this is sort of once you get level 6, you want to keep farming, I think, for sure. And you're looking towards, for me, I've been doing Orchid Rush. Every game I've done the same build, with Bottle first, obviously, Boots and Soul Ring, and then Orchid, with just brown boots. But it's also very common, perhaps even more common, Power Treads Kaya, and then looking into post Kaya items, Bloodstone and S and Kaya Sanch. But that's sort of mid game. Basically, just rush the Orchid, get that PT Kaya if you're going that way. Farm and TP into dive. So I feel like Storm's a very good reactionary hero. I feel like everyone knows this. TP if your side lanes are getting dived, or I think it also is acceptable to proactively look for high value kills if it presents itself to you. You're you're not, this is a general midpoint, probably similar to what Marco was saying, you're not smoking to try and find their Drow Ranger that's completely out of vision, unless it's some sort of exceptional circumstance. You're more just, there's a Drow Ranger showing in the lane within zip distance. Okay, I'm going to quickly TP, zip, go, because my two of my heroes are also in the lane, and it's a kill.
Yeah. I would add to that, and again, it's a general comment for mid heroes, but I think is more specific to Storm, because Storm's kit baits you into a shit playstyle, but you shouldn't try and go too early with you as a hero. So my point being, you do want to prioritize farm and those key item timings, and not to be overly exuberant about getting involved and making plays happen and ganking. Like Stan says, unless it's a clear TP rotation or clear overextension that you punish, your focus really should be on that first 1.5 items. Another way to think about it is, you could try that rotation on some POS 4, POS 5, pre-picking up this item. Okay, and you've obviously not got as much resource and potential to make a kill. Suppose you wait 3-4 minutes to finish that item, finish that half item, and then go and try and kill a POS 4-5 again. That POS 4-5 is no harder to kill. They've not picked up a key item in that window. They're equally difficult to kill, but you've got so much more potential and ability to do so. And so, I mean, that is such a better way to go about it. So you don't want to hemorrhage yourself by trying to be too active or aggressive or rotating too much too early. And I'm really focused on that first item and a half, like the power treads after the Orchid, let's say, before making impact. Because the opportunities will arise. If your team's on your back, which sometimes happens, I know the feeling, like your team's like, mid AFK, not in the game. You just got to push them aside and be like, my impact will come once I got that first 1.5 items.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And when you do get that first item, if you're going Orchid Rush, if you can get it at like 12 minutes, that's amazing. If you can get it at 14 minutes, that's harder, but that's the sort of range, I feel like. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but I feel like between 12 and 14 is kind of when you want it. 14 maybe a bit late, but like 12, 13 is pretty, if you're having a good game. And then once you've got that, I think the playstyle changes a little bit, in the sense that the license to hunt is a bit stronger. You still want to farm, you don't want to neglect that, you still want to manage your mana well, and you don't want to force anything, because the hero can just be very, very sad with no mana. Level 10 talent, I feel like you always want to go the mana regen. I'm a big mana regen believer in the 10 talent. And then, you want to keep those item timings really strong, and know that with the Orchids, you can link up with your team a bit more to get higher value kills easier, especially on enemy mids, against a puck, against a... I'm thinking Sky, even though it's not normal, but that's because I played against 2 Skies on Storm. Void Spirit, whatever it may be, because unless they have a defensive item, which is unlikely, it's just kill time. And you're always going to be able to W, if you need to, you're always going to be able to W while you're zipping. It's not what you want to do. You want to zip, hit with overload, W, hit with overload, Q, hit with overload. But you can always instantly stun while invulnerable, which is another nice thing about the hero. And then mid-game, I feel like ideally your POS 1 is sweeping through jungle camps at this point, so I think you're mobile enough and quick enough to be looking more to nuke waves. And then also, in this initial early game period where you've got maybe Orchid PT, or you've got PT Kaya Sandra or something, you're still able to go in first. The later the game goes, I've found, you don't want to be going in first. So late game, a lot of heroes have items. There's more grouping up. Even though you've got more items, you might Shivas, Ags, like Hex, whatever, Lincoln, Bloodstorm, Bloodthorn, whichever direction you've gone in. I feel like you want to play those fights with another initiator going in first, ideally, and then you zipping around, or, you zipping to W and then instantly zipping out again, if you really need to. And you want to be dipping in and out of those fights, and looking at your cooldown on your W, and how much mana you've got, and watching the fight and looking for an opportunity to go in. That's sort of my take. Earlier in the game, you can go in and be that initiator, even in some, maybe not 5v5s, ideally, because you might get destroyed, but certainly like 3 heroes, you should have enough at that point. If you use your W, it's suddenly 3v2, and that should be enough for kills and stuff.
Yeah, I think an interesting one for Storm in the mid and late is the mana resource allocation, and I think a big mistake often is committing too much to a target that you can't really kill. And the classic is, say, there's a pos 3, even it might be a pos 2 that presents itself and you think it's an opportunity, and you actually end up using 50% plus of your mana, not really doing much damage to, say, like a tanky hero, when actually, particularly mid-game, I mean, even late game as well, you want to be selective with your targeting, because if you only have so many chances to do your goes, often it is going to be the supports and the backlines that you want to focus on. But I know it's so easy to get baited into other targets, and you can suddenly completely screw your fight over if you are too wasteful with your initiations, or if you go in that bit too early, or trying to spend too much mana trying to kill a target, or you get the DK down 70%, but then it's like, woof, they've got 2 supports using 8 spells that maybe you should have cleaned up instead.
Yeah.
So that kind of targeting obviously is massive. The mana usage bit and being, I guess, a bit conservative with your mana. I think always better to be conservative than not. With Storm, who's so mana critical, is important and isn't a bit of a more niche element to his game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the mana management is an interesting one, and it is literally just a case of don't use everything on one target as well. I think that's pretty... Unless there's like a 0% chance they can turn, but say you're going to kill a Luna, you might have vision of a Luna farming in her own jungle. Even in that instance, I feel like it's not advisable to use all your mana to kill, because you will just die to TPs, any TPs, and maybe you kill with a Luna, maybe you don't. I feel like you always want to have a bit in the tank. That's just the way that I've sort of been playing it. Soul Ring is a big help. I would definitely always get a Soul Ring. This is more an early game thing just for farm. And that mana management has always been something I've struggled with on Storm for the farm game. The Soul Ring actually just is so strong for that. And then the BKB is another interesting item, because you don't want to get it, but sometimes you have to. And that balance between when to buy BKB and when to maybe just get Lincolns, or when to just rely on Kaya Sanj. It's really hard to talk about that on a pod because it's so game dependent, but BKB is quite a core item. The more of an initiator you need to be, and the less stuns your team has, the more you want a BKB, I think, because it means that you have to be going in earlier and you have to be committing to get a W off, because your team needs a W to get a kill, to start a kill. Whereas if your team has lots of stuns, I think you have more license just to be going in and out, and your W doesn't mean as much, so you can just zip, zip, zip. You don't have to like stand and hit so much, and you don't need a BKB so much. And obviously if you forego the BKB, you're going to have more mana, because all the other items that Storm gets is going to give you mana.
It is sad when you have to get a BKB and you've got nothing towards your mana or mana regen.
Yeah.
I feel like back in the day, I don't know what the patch was 5 years ago, but I feel like Bloodstone used to be better in some ways, and I think it used to be some sort of first item pickup. Mm-hmm. I feel like I used to play Storm in a very like opposite of tight, like very free liberal way of mana usage, because I think Bloodstone was better. But I also do think Storm's an interesting case where over time, as the player base gets better, Storm's a hero that becomes relatively worse, because I think so much about the hero is, I mean, I guess it's the case with every hero, but I feel like Storm in particular, the way that you adapt that's pretty simple stuff like item choice and gameplay, I feel like from experience it was easier to stomp with a Storm than it is nowadays, and maybe that's because of some of the macro changes to mechanics of gold XP, towers, things like this. But I do also feel like people are more aware of dangers of Storm, when Storm's strong, how Storm punishes you, what items you need to survive the jump. It is all about surviving that jump often, be it a Glimmer or a Yule's. I feel like it is harder to snowball a game with Storm now, and yeah, you just need to get that point where you've got 1 item, 1.5 item on the supports, have a kind of 2-person unit, and you can mitigate a lot of Storm's effectiveness. And when you go super late, Storm isn't a mega great late game hero. The damage output...
What are you talking about?
I think the damage output kind of tapers off. I don't think it... I mean, Storm's not standing there right-clicking.
Not now with the double overload procs.
I guess that helps with the overload procs, but it's still quite specific.
You've never been 5-man ags.
Yeah, 5-man vac.
7x overload double procs into everyone gets one shot.
Yeah, I feel like in a 16...
Yeah, you become almost utility. If you do the normal Storm build, your late game is, now I've got like a quasi RP sort of thing, which is good, but it's not
quasi. It's better. It's
like better than RP. But if you want to build for late game Storm, you've got to commit to it so early. You've got to go like Thorn, Dezo, and stuff like this.
Yeah,
it's just not what you want to be doing in the mid game.
Yeah, I agree. More utility in the late game, and it feels like a Storm with 4,000 mana. Often it's like, you can't kill the enemy cores with all your might because you have to use so much mana to do. I mean, it's hard to do damage at a point for Storm. Like, there's only so much damage you can do unless you have Bloodthorn, Dezo, and weird items like that. So it does feel like it tapers off as you get further in the game.
Yeah, let's talk about some of these things you mentioned about playing against Storm. Then, Adam, you're against Storm. What are some of the things that you're thinking about, like how to deal with the hero from like a support perspective?
Man, I hate this hero. That's what I'm thinking. Does he have Spirit as the second word in his name? Man, I hate that hero because you can't. I like Spirit Breaker.
First word.
Well, I can't even say Vengeful Spirit. Yeah. I kind of like Vengeful Spirit too, so I can't even. Well, you know what I mean when I think of a Spirit hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. What is that? Raindrops.
Interesting shout. Yeah.
I think. I hope I have a stun. If I don't have a stun, the Glimmer Cape, very good. Yeah, I think that's the big support item is the Glimmer. It's not like Yule's isn't going to do anything for you. I guess a Force Staff to get away, but it's like you can't blink because if he daps you with the zip, you're done for.
Yeah.
I have one question. So you don't rate the Kaya Sanj rush on Storm?
No, I do rate it. I haven't tried it myself, but I think they're the options, aren't they? Is the Brown Boots Orchid or the Treads. I mean, when I say Brown Boots Orchid, then back for Treads. Right. Or you go Treads, Kaya Sanj.
One interesting thing is that Storm's win rate with Orchid is 44%, but with Kaya Sanj it's 53%. But I think that's because people are, even if you lose a Giga Stomp as a Storm, you're picking up an Orchid because that's your build normally. So I think typically Kaya Sanj is second or third item. So that's probably why it's got a higher win rate.
Kaya Sanj is a great item. It's a really great item. I said this last week, or I said it in one of our games, but in case anyone doesn't realize, so Kaya gives you 8% spell amp. Sanj gives you another 8%, not by itself, but when you put it into Kaya Sanj, that becomes 16. So you think you're getting this great spell amp from Kaya, and then Sandra's like tanking you up and giving you the status resist and some strength. That actually is doubling your spell amp as well. So Kaya Sandra's is so good.
50% mana regen amp, which is amazing on a storm, and then 22% status resist. So if you ever actually do get caught, you're much more likely to live because the stun's going to last not as long. I think that item's like OP.
That's why Bloodthorn isn't. That's why Bloodstone isn't as popular, because Kaya doesn't stack. So if you get Bloodstone, you're not getting Kaya Sanj.
Bloodstone is always kind of a weird one, because with the way you do that Giga Heal now, it costs so much of your mana pool as a storm that you might live, but you don't get to like game. It takes a long time to like regen that back to be able to like ball out of control. But you do get the live sometimes, so it's kind of like a trade-off. It's probably the greedy way to go, like the Bloodstone Rush, super greedy, but you do sustain for your farming. But that's
still
like,
it's still very a popular item, I would say. But
probably like the third most popular build, I would think.
Yeah,
the other two I think are way more popular.
Yeah. I think with couriers these days,
there was a time when the Bloodstone was the build.
Yeah. But I think having couriers shipping out clarities, you've got things like mana, regen, amp. I don't think clarities are really good now. So, the regen aspect of Bloodstone is much less necessary.
I think... go ahead.
Just on the item PSA, so maybe us three are like the most uninformed Dota players out of all the listener base, because we seem to feel like we need to reiterate items, but I would like to reiterate Glimmer, because I've had a instance of friend of the pod Nick not realizing its active grants 45% magic resistance on top of invisibility.
This isn't a recent revelation, is it?
I mean, not to me. I mean, to Nick.
Really?
A year ago. I was losing my mind one game, and because he didn't realize it.
It's like, you're just going to get dusted.
Yeah, it was like a Zeus.
The invis is like a sidebar of why it's
exactly.
good.
Yeah, so I think it was a Zeus, so he was like, well, lightning's just showing you anyway. Right. So
but lightning would do half as much damage.
Well, exactly, it's like unbelievable magic resistance from Glimmer, so my point being, use that item. It's just a PSA, use items, use spells, game's easy, But maybe we're the idiots, probably.
I think on the stuff to do against Storm like Glimmer, you've just got to be... It's like playing against Spirit Breaker, so when you play against Spirit Breaker, if you're a support and you want to just quickly nuke a wave and then run away, it's not going to happen because you've shown. And it's not quite as bad, but you need to be really careful. I think particularly dewarding, something that I've noticed in my games. A support tries to deward and is a little bit out of position because of that. They're going to die for sure, and they're probably not even... They might not even get the deward off. So be very careful about trying to do things like dewarding, and obviously speculative kills against a storm. So, for example, you think you can get a quick kill and out. When you're playing against a storm, you have to just factor in that is much, much harder, because it's perhaps the best chase hero in the game. If you go for a quick gank and on the Storm's team, on their offlane or their core or whoever, Storm TP, the turn potentials are there, and even if the turn potentials aren't there, the chase potential's there. And suddenly you're like, oh, we got this gank, and now it's turned into a team fight. It's not what we wanted, because this Storm zipped in and it's tough to get out. And so factor that in, and then obviously this is just a PSA for all support play, but don't show. Don't show unless you have to.
Trees are your friend. Just if you walk into a lane or hide in a lane or TP into a lane, it's all about the trees. Trees are phenomenal value to nestle you
somewhere
in.
Solo. Like, that's what you said. Don't deward solo. Don't just... If you're under a tower, last hitting a wave, that's one thing. But, don't be halfway across the map doing something dumb and just feeding the storm
Yeah.
a kill with no like possibility of a turnaround. If he sees other people on the map and is like, oh, this guy's way out of position, I guess I'll go out of my way. I'll take the 300 gold. That's you just gotta, you're not going to get away with poor positioning.
The best thing about
all those Storm's trying to do is like jump on you and snowball.
The next best, or an even better thing is, you being in the trees near someone, Storm will get baited. Storm players will not factor in every calculation. They'll jump a hero, they'll see, and they won't factor in a support lurking in the trees ready to follow up and support. So you can turn stuff so well by hiding and being in the right place at the right time. I think POS 5 is all about right place, right time, use spells, use items. That's all there is to it. And maybe that's DotA, but I think it's not. I think it is a POS 5 thing. I think other positions have other nuances. Right place, right time, use your spells, use your items. I think that's the essence of POS 5. And I think a Storm jumper, any jumper, or you can turn.
All it takes is that first, like if you're a Rubik and you're in the trees, lift them, and then the follow-up is insane. You just gotta...
Yeah. Bane,
you just gotta be
Disruptor.
that one guy.
I remember playing Disruptor in ranks. Oh, the feeling when a Storm jumps. There was one, he was jumping on me, and you just land the fucking Static Storm right on your body, and the trap is beautiful. Or I've done smoke plays. Not even smoke sometimes, just like you're connecting mid with a core POS 2 and just drop an ult on the Storm. Or you're gonna do so much value if you're in the right place at the right time as a 5, particularly against Storm. It's probably one of the reasons why it's got a 47% win rate. It can get mega shafted very easily.
Well, the turn potential is insane because it goes from... Oh, that doesn't matter. Craig problems don't matter, I guess. It goes from jumping and like being in this stun lock overload combo where you're the one getting a kill. All it takes is one stun because you're in deep because Storm is a low range hero, operates very close quarters. The whole team just wails and it's like easy turns. So yeah, another point about playing against Storm is click on his items and look what item build he's going, because there's a big difference between the Storm that's going Orchid Rush and a Storm that's going Power Treads Kaya. If he's going Orchid, this timing's going to be deadly, super deadly. I mean, Orchid, Malevolence, 20 int, 25 attack speed, 30 damage, so 50 damage for a Storm. 25 attack speed, a silence for 5 seconds, and at the end of the silence, 30% of the damage received while silence is inflicted as bonus magic damage. This item is absolutely nuts when you first pick it up. Like, this timing is unbelievable. And any hero, Storm can solo kill any hero if it's just a 1v1 man fight at this point. I mean, maybe not some bristle with a hood, but I'm talking like any POS 1 that isn't an overtly tanky POS 1. So your Ursa, your Drow Ranger, your Gyro, your Luna, like they will all die solo to a Storm that's rushed an Orchid. So you need just be careful about where you're standing as a Luna, and also be smart about where you're standing as a support. Stand behind your Luna, static Storm, and then Storm, well done, you got an Orchid, now you're dead.
Yeah, or just be there to Glimmer. And then he's blown 80% of his mana for not enough on your course.
If you're mega farmed, 14-minute Glimmer on POS 5. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes, at that point in the game, but point stands.
Yeah, for sure. That's Storm Spirit. I feel like I
have one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think attack speed's underrated on him because I think we've mentioned it, but it's very important to maximize your overload procs. And I definitely don't play the hero, and it's part of the reason why I guess get too like spell happy. Just like eating out spells without actually right clicking. And then you're missing out on a lot of damage. But attack speed, you can kind of maximize your procs because you have less time in between.
Yeah,
it feels good. You get your ball right click, W right click, Q right click. Me, I would ball in, pull Q as the, and then it's like, okay, you maybe got one proc off of 3 spells. It's like not ideal. You're missing out on like hundreds of points of damage.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then also be mindful of the fact that you don't have to do all your work super close up. So I think the game we just played and some other games I've had, you might zip in, W right click, Q right click. Then you need to get out of the way a little bit because of just the way a fight works. If Storm Spirit has attack range, it's not a lot, but he has attack range. So you can do a lot of work and a lot of damage while staying safe by just being at the side and right clicking and pressing Q to proc overload.
Yeah, waiting for you get a little bit of regen or another soul ring proc or something.
Yeah, or your W to come back off cooldown for you to run in again, but there's no need for you to be
melee.
Yeah, melee range. There's just no need for that. And
you don't need to walk up in a Storm Remnant.
Yeah, you don't need to get a Remnant on them, to fight especially in this sort of mid game when heroes are quite slow and there aren't necessarily blinks. You're going to be way safer just standing and right clicking at your max range, pressing Q for the overload damage. So
yeah. When you have Ags, your Vortex is no longer a point spell, right? You just press it and it goes. So that's something good to know.
Yes.
I don't play the hero that much, but when I was playing, I'm like, why isn't my
W working?
W doing? And it's like, oh, it's on cooldown, halfway on my zip. You can't press it and target something, and then when you come in, it happens. It's like, no, I just did it halfway across the map.
Yeah.
And then what level does your W get long enough range to pull you into a remnant? Is it 3?
From max?
From max. It's it pulls you far enough in for your
3.
remnant to hit. I think it is 3.
260
level 3
pull,
vortex.
260 radius remnant.
Yeah.
I would just say in the lane, when you're trying to get that combo off, you need to do a bit of waddling. So you W, click, move forward, use your Q, and click again.
And laning against Storm, don't discount the level 3 Vortex skill. 3 or 4.
The level 3 Vortex skill is the play, I think, for sure.
I know, it's just I think if you can get a lot of easy kills, people still are oh, he's going to go greedy. But there's sometimes if you're against a melee or somebody hasn't figured out their bottle or they're just getting a little too frisky, you can pull them in.
Marco doesn't approve. That's too proactive for a Storm. Just farm and, just chill out. Don't be thinking about anything.
It's all it's all monitoring the situation. There's sometimes people are real greedy with their health. They're just oh, I'm waiting to get that bottle coming out.
And people have
one more last right click, or I'm just going to get the water rune or whatever.
Yeah, and people have in their mind that Storm's a very weak laner, which isn't necessarily true.
He gets Giga Stomped by Lena and certain heroes, but the other times where it's he can hold his own / win some lanes.
Necro's another one that's rough for the lane. I feel like Necro's very good. Final thing before we leave then, bit of the best and worst heroes. Any guesses? Top 5 heroes that Storm is worst against? I think you'll get 2 of them.
I mean, I wanted, my first thought is Silencer, but I don't know if it's
I know one.
Silencer
might have a low win rate because it's a support or something.
Silencer's up there. It's not in the top 10 though. So top 15.
Puck.
No, Puck's not there.
What?
Puck is not anywhere to be seen, actually.
Oh, I feel Puck
Storm Spirit has an advantage against Puck.
Oh, I swear when I play Puck, I smack down Storms. You got you got so much disable with Silence and Root. That's surprising.
Root is
that is surprising, yeah. This is all of Dota, by the way.
Like Necro? You said Necro is...
No, Necro's, I think, good in the lane, but then at post lane is
But if you ever get the ult on him, though...
Necro is good. Necro has an advantage, but it's very slight. It's very slight.
Yeah.
It's negligible, actually. It's 10%. But there is
think of,
there's one hero
gamers.
there's one hero that absolutely ruffles Storm, and I know this very well. No,
Pugna's fine because you can ult and you don't take damage from the ward.
Mm-hmm. Pugna's still slightly. I mean, again, it's 0.6%.
I think is it Viper?
No, it's not
Lena?
Viper.
Wow.
I'm thinking about lane winners, but not like.
You've got to think about my experience in
TA?
those two.
I'm just thinking of Stan heroes now.
Oh,
you said.
you're the biggest stand hero. You've forgotten the biggest stand hero.
Really, Tinker?
I mean, I respect that you're saying Tinker's a stand hero.
OD? I'm trying to think of stand heroes.
My most played
Meepo?
hero ever. Meepo.
Meepo.
That doesn't count. That's not a real hero. Stan recently tried that. We played that together, and it's not a hero.
Oh, Meepo's so bad at the moment.
You didn't play bad. The hero was just terrible. Like, you got ahead.
So bad, yeah.
We were in a winning position, but they only got to kill one of them. So it it felt terrible.
It's actually so sad. Meepo, he needs some serious work, but Meepo is in a horrendous place right now. But yeah, 5%
so like what, Storm Spirit? Or sorry, I mean Static Storm, I mean Disruptor. Is that good? A good hero?
Disruptor's 1% advantage, so Meepo
Are these all
has a
cores?
5%. Yeah, so think of Marco heroes for the next highest advantage versus Storm.
Anti-Mage?
Yeah, so Anti-Mage
Yeah,
is
it's a
the
big
second
one.
best hero versus
The
Storm.
old Rampage off of a Mana Void is always
That one
a
is awkward.
possibility.
And then the other three I don't think that you'll get. So
Troll?
Troll's is sixth, actually. So Troll is sixth.
Yeah, Troll's
best
pretty
against
good.
Storm.
Get the root stun combo.
So Lone Druid is third best, another non-hero.
Yeah.
And then Ricky is fourth.
I can see it. The Cloud is good.
Then for some reason Io is the fifth best hero against Storm. And then Troll Warlord.
That one's
Can't
weird.
kill anyone.
Yeah, you can't kill the
can't
Too
target.
much
Target,
So
sustain.
he uses the mana and then it's over.
Interesting. And then to switch it around, the heroes that Storm is best against, any guesses for the top 5 here? I think you should be able to get 2 of them again.
Are they supports?
No, they're squishy cores.
Squishy
Sniper?
cores.
Yeah, Sniper is second. I'll give you the third, fourth, and fifth, which is Brewmaster, Ancient Apparition, and PL. So if you hate PL, Storm's good against PL. But the number one hero that Storm is best against is
Brewmaster? How is that? How is he?
What?
I don't understand why he's
I
so
don't
good.
get that one because like he can ult. So like, I mean, I just feel like you don't die a bunch to him. But I guess you're just a bad hero in the game against him in general. So you don't have.
Here's
a lot
an
of
interesting
effect.
one. Why is Brew so bad against him? I actually don't understand really.
Like a squishy core that.
A squishy mid in the sniper role.
So squishy.
I could give you another clue that would give it away instantly, but
Yeah, I'm kind of at a
so it's
hoodwink.
the magic version of sniper.
It's not Arc Warden, are you?
No, Arc Warden
yeah.
is around. but-
the magic version of Sniper?
yeah,
Zeus.
the hero. Yeah, Zeus, the hero
Yeah,
that just
I feel
stays
like-
back and nukes from the back. He's the worst
Yeah.
hero against Storm, apparently.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard
Yeah,
that as well.
I think Zeus has big spirit hero problems
Yeah.
in general.
yeah.
That was just to go back to the Capitalist game. Their recap of the game in the post-game discussion was you just can't pick Zeus against Ember Spirit. Like, regardless of the heroes that were in the other lanes, like you just can't pick them against Ember. And that's surprising to me. But I think it holds for the other two, all 4 spirits, I would think, because they just, get all up in his business.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I'll have to wrap it up here, but I just clicked on Zeus out of interest to see his worst heroes, and there are lots that make sense. Anti-Mage up there, Meepo, Storm Spirit, Lone Druid, which is a bit interesting. I guess the Bear's just like really
He
good.
just stomps everybody.
Yeah, but then interestingly, again, there's always surprises. Why is the 5th best hero against Zeus with a 3.5% advantage? That is really sizable. Chen.
Heal. You just
Heal and just get
Heal,
magic.
sustain, push.
Get the
Yeah, magic
cloak
aura is
aura.
too good.
Cloak aura, yeah.
That's interesting.
But yeah, There you go. So we'll be back next week with more heroes, more counters, all sorts. And until then, have a final whistle.